Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janavallava Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janavallava Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janavallava Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna. See, you may not notice this, but the kartal player was fantastic. She followed. Sometimes kartal players are not fantastic, but she was, so thank you very much. Before I begin my lecture, I'd just like to say one mantra in offering respects to my spiritual master, my Guru Maharaj. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Don't breathe. Don't move. Okay. So, as our esteemed temple president was saying a minute ago, so today is Mother's Day. And so we thought we should take advantage of that and talk about our glorious mothers. Okay? And I guess that's maybe why I'm sitting on this side of the, the temple today. This is not for us. This is for the ladies today. Okay? All right. And I have about 20 pages of notes, so we're here till about midnight. Is that all right? Okay, so. Actually, all right, we'll begin with, how many people here work in IT? Okay, so why is a computer so smart? Because it listens to the motherboard. There you go. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So some people probably recognize this painting. It's a famous painting in the Sistine Chapel in Rome. It's by Michelangelo, and it's showing, the Christian conception of creation, right? That God is touching Adam. That's Adam on the left and God on the right. And in one sense, and this is the understanding of how creation takes place in the Christian tradition, right? But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also talks about creation. This is a famous verse, Aham sarvasya prabhava, vata sarvam pravartate. Is this for me? Thank you very much. That's right. It's cold. Thank you. Iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samandita. Right? Krishna says, I am the source of all spiritual material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in bhakti, engage in devotional service, and worship me with all their hearts. Okay, so and this is an example of creation of Mahavishnu, with universes coming out of the pores of his skin. So it's a little bit more of an advanced understanding than this. And then Krishna will say in Bhagavad Gita also that, especially that last line, Aham bija pradapita, that I am the seed-giving father of all species of life. So that means he also creates mothers, right? He creates mothers and fathers, and right, he's the source of everything. And this is an important, because we're going to talk about Krishna respecting his mother, and so that might scratch our heads and say, well, how can God, the source of everything, have a mother, right? Because he's the source of everything. So we're going to make this distinction. Oh, by the way, I don't think Krishna I'm not sure if Krishna created mothers-in-law, right? I'm not sure about that. I don't know if we can blame Krishna for mothers-in-law, but it's supposed to be funny. Okay. So we want to make this distinction in the beginning of this talk about mothers, about the difference between Tatva and Rasa. And we talked about this a little earlier today. So Tatva is the philosophy, and Rasa is the relationships. Okay? And they're both important. But those first verses that we quoted a few seconds ago was about Tatva, that God is the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhava. Krishna says, Aham, he's pointing to himself. Aham, everything, sarvasya prabhava, I'm the origin. And then he also says, Aham bija pradapita, that I'm the seed-giving father of all existence. So that's tattva. That's the essential philosophical understanding. And the Bhagavad Gita is primarily a very philosophical text, right? Very philosophical text. Whereas Rasa is about relationships. Anyone know who that is? Did you study? You must have studied this when you were in school. That is King. Did anyone know which king? King George V. You didn't know that? No. But if we grew up in India, we probably studied some British history, and that was King George V. So, in order to understand the relationship between Tatva and Rasa, our founder of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, would sometimes give this example, that a king, anyone here ever been to the Red Fort in Delhi? Okay, a few of you. By the way, I lived in India for 21 years, and I worked in Delhi a large part of that time, so I spent a lot of time in Delhi, and so I remember going to the Darbar, where the king would sit, and it's way, the king would sit way up, even because I worked for the Supreme Court in India, and even there, the judges sit even higher than here in America. They're like, "Can I help you?" Like that. They're very, they're very much like that. And everyone calls them, right, my lord, right? In India, you have to call the judge my lord, right? So the king is up there, and he just by, his raising his eyebrow, right, he can send someone to death, someone to prison, someone to get so much money from somebody else, right? And he's very feared. You have to be like this, right, when you're, right? But also the king has his own life, right? After he gets down from his throne, right, and he goes into his private quarters, and he's sitting down and talking to his wife, and sometimes the example is given that he may have a grandchild, and the king is down on all fours, and the grandchild is climbing on his back and saying, giddy up, grandpa, right? So that's the same king, right, but in a very different, so that's rasa. That's that Krishna, he also has that he's a creator of everything and creates the law of karma, that we get what we deserve according to our activities, but he also has his private life. He has his relationships with his devotees, which is really where, for the king, it's much more fun playing with a grandchild than, you should go to prison for 5 years, right? That's really what he looks forward to. He looks forward to the time when he doesn't have to play the role of the big boss, but he can have loving relationships with his wife, with his children, with his grandchildren, etc. So Krishna, that example can be applied to Krishna. That Krishna has this tattva, he's the source of everything, as we were showing here as an incarnation of Mahavishnu, but he has his loving relationships with his devotees. Okay? So far, so good? TK? All right. So, there's 4 main relationships that Krishna has with his devotees. That we can, well, I should have, actually, I make it 5. 4, anyway. My bad. So he has a passive relationship, and he has one of devotee as a servant and served, and then Krishna has his relationship as a friend, like Arjuna is considered his friend, right? Right? So here's a good example, actually, of Rasa and Tatva, right? So Arjuna was very friendly with Krishna, right? And sometimes they would sit on the same couch, and they would, he would say, "Hey, Yadava." He would call Krishna like that. And actually, in the hierarchy of the families at that time, the Kauravas were a more prestigious family than the Yadavas. So calling him, hey, so Arjuna was a Kaurava, and Krishna was a Yadava. Of course, we know because it was Krishna's family, it's different, right? But he would say, hey, Yadava. It's almost like, I'm being merciful to be your friend. Hey, Yadava, right? And then when Krishna showed his universal form in chapter 11, right, then and his opulence in chapter 10, then Arjuna was, I'm really sorry, it's kind of like, could you imagine if, I know none of you go to Starbucks, but if you did go to Starbucks, right, and you were going there on a regular basis, and there was somebody there that you would meet every day, they would be they would be ordering their coffee, and you'd start developing a friendship, and gradually the friendship got better and better, and you became closer and closer friends, right? And one day, right, you're just really good friends, and you're yucking up, and then one day someone says, do you know who that is, who you're friendly with? He's the richest person in all of Chicago. He's a multi-billionaire, right? So in one sense, you're right, but also your appreciation for him sometimes increases also, that he's such a big person, but here he's just my friend. So Krishna wants, confirmed by that young man, Krishna, we want friendship, right? We relish friendship. Why can't Krishna have friends? Who's going to stop God from having friends? He created friends, right? And this is the most important one for today, that if someone wants to have a relationship with God, with Krishna as their parent, Krishna really relishes that. Krishna really relishes that. And also as a lover. So these are the 5 rasas, they're called, or relationships that we see in this world, and this world is a reflection of the spiritual world. So Krishna has these relationships with his great devotees. So now let's talk about mothers. So Mother Yashoda, this is a picture of Mother Yashoda and Krishna, and look at Krishna's eyes, right? He's Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. He's a source of everything, right? He creates millions of universes, but he's afraid of his mother. That's God. That's our Krishna. He's so special that he wants that loving relationship. So here, Krishna was Krishna was he was a naughty boy, right? What did he do? He stole the makhan. Yeah, he stole the butter. Right? And who did he feed it to? The monkeys. How many of you have been to Vrindavan? So many bandars, so many monkeys there. Yeah, yeah. I always walk around with a stick. Actually, the most important thing in dealing with monkeys, just this is not part of the class, but just so you know, is you just ignore them. They pick up on fear. And if you just walk, even if there's 50 monkeys and they're all fighting with each other, and you just keep walking and you just make believe they're not there, then they pick up on that. But if you're fearful, and especially if you have some prasadam, you know, I always put prasadam under here so they can't see it, but otherwise you're in big trouble. So Krishna was feeding the monkeys, and very naughty boy. And so Mother Yashoda tied him up with a rope to the grinding mortar, right? And it's such a wonderful lila, right? So Krishna has these pastimes, these beautiful pastimes, because he wants to exchange love with his. So Mother Yashoda, she tried. We know the story, right? She tried to bind him, and it was always this much too short, right? Then she got more rope from the neighbors, this much. Then she got all the rope in Vrindavan, and it was still this much too much. These two finger widths too short, right? And those, anyone know what those 2 finger widths represent? Yes, our endeavor and God's mercy, right? Because you need that to actually bind Krishna with love. But here, Mother Yashoda had so much affection for Krishna. And Krishna had so much affection for his mother. So we're celebrating Mother's Day today, and we're seeing just what a loving relationship that the Supreme Lord had with his devotee who played the role of his mother. And who's that? Anyone know who that is? That's Kapila Deva and his mother, Devahuti. So Kapila Deva is the son, and his father took sannyas, became a renunciate, and Kapila was so kind. His mother was asking him, please give me transcendental knowledge. So he gave her a very long Srimad Bhagavatam class. Right? It went on for weeks like that. But because that's what she wanted, he reciprocated. And usually we don't even call him Kapila. What is the name that we call him? Devahuti Putra. Right? We call, and even Krishna liked to be, Krishna was, whoops, wrong one. Krishna really likes, one of his favorite names is Yashodanandana. He doesn't want to be called Ishwara, right, the Supreme Controller, Paramatma in everyone's heart. He wants to be called Yashodanandan. He's a mama's boy. Totally a mama's boy, right? So Kapila also, Devahuti Putra. And he really relished being called that. And he gave so much kindness to his mother. He had so much respect for his mother. So much respect for his mother. And Lord Ramachandra, right? Who's his mom? Very good, Kaushalya. And so the day of his coronation, when Lord Ram was going to be coronated, and then Kaikeyi did her what should we call it? What? Anyway, she did her tricks, right? But Kaushalya was up all night preparing for the coronation, and she was so happy. Lord Ram is going to become the king of Ayodhya, and Lord Ram had to come and see her, and tell her that my father has asked me to go to the forest for 14 years, and she had so much love for her son, even though she's such a devoted wife. She said, "Who cares about your father? You should," she's like, she was so upset. So if we fast forward 14 years, and Lord Ram is returning to Ayodhya in his celestial airplane, and there's all this amazing arrangement for his return. Did I do something wrong? You're going like this? Oh, okay. Just like I live in Washington, D.C., and so they make such a big deal about the inauguration of a new president, right? It's a big thing, and there's all these dances and things like that. So multiply that by 1 million or something, and that's what it was like when Lord Ram returned to Ayodhya. And there was all these, and Kaushalya was just kind of in the corner crying out of love. And there was all this ceremonies and things, and Lord Ram just left it all and just walked straight to his mother and embraced her. And he had the person he missed the most, right, when he was in the forest, was his mother. Right? He had so much affection for his mother. So then also we, in more recent times, we know here in ISKCON we have the incarnation of Krishna called Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And his mother, what was his mother's name? Right? And what is one of the nicest names that we have for Lord Chaitanya? Sachinandan. Jai Sachinandan. Right? We often say, so that was his fate. That was also his fate. Sachinandan. So Mother Sachi, they had such a loving relationship. Lord Chaitanya once said, I only live to see you. He said, I only live to see you. That's my only happiness in life. And he said, we've been together in all my different incarnations. So Sachi Mata is an incarnation of Yashoda, like that, right? And before Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, so traditionally, right, sannyas, you kind of relinquish your family relationships, right? But he touched her feet, he circumambulated her, and when he came back, he had shaved up and was wearing saffron vesh, and he said, oh, what did I do? How am I going to still, so my dear mother, what do you want me to do? And should I give up my sannyas? I'll do anything for you. And she said, no, of course you cannot do that, but I have one request. Right? Because Lord Chaitanya was mainly in Puri, right? Well, she was in Bengal, so he said, you don't go to Vrindavan. You live in Puri. And then Puri is close to Bengal, I can get news of your activities that way, and your devotees will come and go from Bengal, and I can hear about you, right? So even though for Lord Chaitanya, being in Vrindavan was like the most cherished thing in his life, because that's where Krishna did his pastime, he obeyed his mother, and he lived in Puri. And he would sometimes send devotees to give his mother messages. And he also, there were 4 places that Lord Chaitanya would appear, and one of them was in the household temple of Mother Sachi. He was so dedicated to his mother. So we get such a good example in the different incarnations of God himself about how important motherhood is. Okay? So, now, who's that? Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva Maharaj, I won't tell, if I tell all these stories, we'd be here till midnight, really. But his father had 2 wives, and his father really favored the other wife. And so one time, when Dhruva was only a 5-year-old boy, he tried to climb on the lap of his father, and the other mother said, no, right? And there's a whole story behind that. But anyway, so he was very upset, but he was a real Kshatriya spirit. He was a warrior. And so he went to his mother, and his mother said, well, it says in the scriptures that you can find God in the forest. So he went to the forest, and he performed austerities, and he met his guru, Narada Muni, and he became a great, great devotee. Right? But one of the most important things in just being a good human being, and what to speak of being a good devotee, is to be grateful, right? Gratitude is one of the most important qualities that we can have as a human being, right? And so Dhruva Maharaj was a great example of that. So he became this amazing great devotee by the mercy of Narada Muni. So much so that at the end of his life, he was, as we see here, he was boarding the flower airplane back to the spiritual world, back to Vaikuntha. But he said, Rok. He said, wait, time out. He said, I can't leave, I can't go back to Godhead without my mother. Right? And so the servants of the Lord, I think Nanda and Sunanda was their name, they said, and they pointed to the airplane behind and said, don't worry, your mother is there. But he was so grateful, even because his mother was like his Adi Guru, the first guru who taught him that, no, if you want to find God, you have to go to the forest. And he never forgot that. So just like if we feel a great gratitude that we've come in contact with Krishna consciousness, we should always be grateful, of course, to Srila Prabhupada, also to whoever introduced us to Krishna consciousness, right? That they are called the Vartma Pradakshana Guru, the guru that shows the path. Even if it's a person who is a drunkard, but says, oh, you should go to the temple. That's very good. But Dhruva was so grateful to his mother, so grateful. He would not even go back to the spiritual world unless his mother went with him. Yeah. So Prabhupada would say, our founder would say, in this material world, there's no comparison to a mother's love. Mother loves the child without any expectation of return. I thought it was interesting. He said generally. Good mothers are like that. A few mothers might say, my son's going to grow up to be very rich and famous, and then but anyway, that's not what mothers generally think. Right? So he would say that the closest thing to spiritual love is a mother's love for their child. That's the closest thing to pure spiritual love. So, why is a mother's love so special? So that's a question to you. I want to hear your answer. I'll repeat it if we don't have a microphone. But why, anyone, ladies and men can both answer this, although they're going to have more experience with this. But why is a mother's love so special? Because it's unconditional, right? You can't, your baby is crying and you can't say, call, right? Tomorrow I'll take care of my baby. No, even if you've gotten 1 hour's sleep, right, or you're not feeling well, you still, whatever, you take care of your child. So unconditional. What else? What? Sacrifice, yes. A mother makes so many sacrifices for their child. Even now, this wasn't true so much in bygone days, but even now, mothers often sometimes even have to sacrifice some of their career, right? Because to take care of the child. So we were fortunate when my son was born. We were living I lived in Vrindavan for 21 years, and my wife was able to take off she was helping to run a school, but she took off the first 5 years just to take care of our son. And then started again her career in Krishna. What else? So what did you have? Selfless. Okay. Patient and forgiving. Sounds like someone who said that? Did you sometimes upset your mother? And she was patient and forgave you? He was a naughty boy, I'm sure, when he was a young man. Yes, but you're right. They're patient, and ultimately they'll you kick them. I can remember you're spoon feeding your child, and it goes all over you, and you still forgive, right? Yes, patient and forgiving. Well-wisher, right? Yes, a well-wisher. Yes. Honest from the heart. Very good. So the job description of a mom is very interesting. Right? Basic care and maintenance of child. Heavy lifting is expected. Must have leadership qualities and able to be firm in decision making. Must have patience and be hardworking. Qualification, you will likely not use your college degree. Sick days, yes, you will need to work on sick days. Holidays, be prepared to work on all holidays, including food preparation, present wrapping, and cleaning for guests. Benefits, hugs, kisses, homemade cards, and lots of I love yous. Pay, zero. Right? No promotion guaranteed. Right? So this is actually, so if you didn't have some love, you wouldn't ever accept that job. Right? Who would be crazy enough to accept that job? No pay, no sick days, no vacation days. right? And it doesn't say here, but the hours are, 24/7, right? It's a very interesting job to be a mom. So we can get inspirations from mothers, because this is one of the most important verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam, because it talks about what our attitude should be towards, our attitude should be towards Krishna. Savai pungsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir dhoksaje ahoituki apratiyata yayatma suprasidati. That the supreme occupation, the supreme dharma for everyone is that by which we can attain loving devotional service to Krishna. And this is very important. To be fully satisfied, our bhakti should be unmotivated, like we just heard, selfless, right? And uninterrupted. So you can see why Srila Prabhupada said that a mother is the best example in this world of a pure devotee, right? Because you were unmotivated, you're not doing it for the money, right? And uninterrupted, especially when they're young, it can be 24/7, right? Anyone have a young baby who, what is that called, colic? When a baby can't sleep? Yeah, and you remember those times, walking up and down, and you're probably falling over, and they're still not sleeping, right? I know some people, right, the trick is to put your baby in the car and start driving, and then, but then you can't stop. If you stop, they start crying. So hopefully you have a Prius where you get 50 miles to a gallon, so that it's not a very expensive endeavor putting your child to sleep. But you can see how this is what we want to aspire for in our relationship with Krishna. And we can get inspiration from the mothers in our lives. So we should respect our mother. So in 1966, there was a very nice devotee who a few years ago now left this world. His name is Brahmananda Prabhu. And he was taking Diksha. He was getting initiated by Srila Prabhupada. And so in New York, in 26 2nd Avenue, the first temple that ISKCON had. And Srila Prabhupada told him to invite his parents. Right? So he invited his parents. And I'll just read this to you. This is him speaking. Prabhupada told me to invite my parents to the initiation. My father wouldn't come, but my mother came. She sat on the folding chair. We had the fire sacrifice, and at the end, Prabhupada gave me my beads, and I bowed down to him. Then Prabhupada said, "Now, bow down to your mother." So I turned and bowed down. My mother felt quite uncomfortable having her son bowing at her feet. Prabhupada instructed me, whenever you see your mother, offer your obeisances. And he said he did that for the rest of his mother's life. Anytime, because his guru told him to. So Prabhupada, even, we talk on such, spiritual levels about loving Krishna, but Prabhupada taught us to have such respect for a mother. Well, probably if a father would have been there, he probably would have been the father also, but for our parents, and especially for our mother. So we shouldn't have to wait for Mother's Day to show our love and gratitude towards our mother. I remember when I was a child, I would say, hey, why is there Mother's Day but there's no Children's Day? And I think there is a Children's Day now, but in those days there was no Children's Day. And my mom would say, every day is Children's Day. Right? So we shouldn't wait. It's such a important part of our culture, and we have our 7 mothers, right, in the scriptures. You know that, right? There's not just one, but there's, and Mother Bhumi, the earth, and the spiritual masters, and the king's wife, and of course the cow, and things like that. But at least now we're talking about our birth mother. We shouldn't have to wait for Mother's Day. We should be always feeling a great sense of gratitude. So I was going to ask you, what about your mother? Anyone want to talk a little bit about your mother or your appreciation for your mother? No, you can't force somebody. Because does anyone here not have a mother? thoughts out. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm 42 years old. She still sees me as a small child, and she's always worried about me. Whenever I call her in India, she's just always thinking about me.
See,
so
it doesn't end, right?
Yes.
The mother's love doesn't end. Yes. Yeah, I have a good friend of mine whose mother was on her deathbed, and she wasn't a devotee, but she very much appreciated her son was a devotee. So he said, "I'm coming, Mom. I'm coming to see you." And she said, "Oh, what will you eat?" So she's leaving this world. She's in so much pain, and her only concern is, will you have enough to eat? Yeah. And I think it's true in Indian families. I come from a Jewish background. I think in Jewish families and Indian families, you don't become an adult until you're about 50. Right? Because your mother still wants to, everything all right, and want to feed you, and right, like that. Yes. So thank you for that. Someone else. Yes, over here.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Prabhu.
Just speak loudly.
Yeah. As Prabhu was sharing, it's a similar experience. My mother, she has been and she is still doing everything for me, and still treats me like a child. And she is an amazing cook, and I say that's a blessing, and also not so good for me because I never get to do anything because she has been doing everything for me.
And are you a mother now?
Yeah.
And so do you try to do to your children what your mom did to you?
Yeah, I actually take so much inspiration. And one particular thing I want to share, until I came to Krishna consciousness, I never appreciated what she was doing. I was just taking things for granted that that's what she has to do. Even after having my own kids, I was not able to have that kind of selfless attitude that she has. But particularly after connecting to Krishna consciousness and what a real servant-master relationship with so much love, then I'm able to appreciate that and trying to take inspiration.
Very nice, very nice. One or two more? Someone? Yes. Oh, lady. Okay. Go ahead. Right here. Yes.
My mother has been like a great symbol of patience and sacrifice, which I never
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
realized until I became a mom. I always used to feel, why is she doing so much? Like, why is she being so patient? She needs to fight back, things like that when I was a little child. And then when I grew up and I became a mom, I kind of understood why it is. So all that I've learned from her is patience and sacrifice.
Yeah, sometimes I used to tell my son when he was a teenager, I can't wait till you have a teenager. There was, one more behind. Oh, yes, go ahead.
As a teenager right now,
she's 14.
I think my mom is one of the most patient people I know. Because, as a teenager, you don't really know what you're doing. I can say for myself. We do a lot of stupid stuff, definitely. And she's just so patient with all my emotions and how I react kind of brashly sometimes, and how I don't really have that much of a reign over my emotions. She kind of steps in and she helps me through that, and she's taught me almost everything I know, and I'm just really grateful to her.
Thank you. So it's so important to have gratitude, and if you haven't done so already, and if your mother is in India or somewhere, get on Skype or WhatsApp or whatever, and keep in touch. So any questions or comments about the class and what we've been talking about? What would you like to discuss? Because we have a few more minutes. Is that right? Till 6:30. Okay. Yes, in the back. You have to somehow almost eat the microphone.
So until I come to this country, I have never knew about Mother's Day.
Never knew about
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Acha.
So, is this something anywhere mentioned in scriptures about Mother's Day?
No. The modern. It's funny you ask because I checked it out on what is it? Instead of Guru Dave, Google Dave.
Google Acharya.
Google Acharya. Yeah. And it's something that started near the turn of the century, around 1904 or 1910 or something like that. There are other, in previous cultures, sometimes something like this. But the idea that we can do, just like there's a verse that says, Anashaktasya Vishayan Yartaham Upayunjita Nirbandha Krishna Sambande Yuktam Vairagya Uchate. That because the whole world is created by Krishna, we can use even material things in Krishna's service, right? So, although Mother's Day might not be a Vedic tradition, it wasn't mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, for example, but we can, as we tried to do today, connect it with Krishna and take advantage of it to remind us of Krishna's affection for his mothers, right? And the whole tradition in the Vedic tradition of how important it is to respect one's mother is the Adi Guru, right? The first guru you have is your mother, right? And there's also this saying that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, right? Because all those great kings and this and that, right? They were all babies at one time, and it was their mother who was the first influence on them, right? So yes, it's not a Vedic tradition, but we use it in Krishna's service. Is that all right? Okay. Another thought, question? Yes, in green over there. Mataji. Yep.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, like that.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I don't know. Most of you probably don't do karaoke, but it's kind of like karaoke. You gotta,
Okay.
go like this.
We'll try that. I'm just trying to correlate your lecture today with Mother's Day and say, in the very beginning you mentioned the creation of life through the pores of Krishna.
Yeah, Mahavishnu, yes.
So this is often a question in my mind. Am I the selfless person, or is the child the selfless person? Because it is because of the child that I am a mother, and I feel the emotion, or I feel the selflessness, or I feel everything as a mother.
Uh-huh.
So I feel, is that the soul that came to me to teach me something?
Yes. I mean, we
know?
like we were saying in Prabhuji's question as well. We can take things that that may not be strictly spiritual, but spiritualize them, right? So we could say that, well, I've had so many mothers, I've had so many fathers, I've had so many births. There's a whole pastime about that in the 6th canto about Chitraketu Maharaj, which we don't have time to describe the whole thing. But as when we become devotees or become interested in Krishna consciousness, and it doesn't mean you have to be a great devotee, even a new, just learning about Krishna, our life changes because we can see everything as a lesson. I mean, what is Krishna teaching me here? What is Krishna teaching me there? Right? So that's why I was trying to show that. So naturally a mother has affection for her child. And we can learn from that. That just, if I took care of Krishna as much as I took care of my child, I'd be a Maha Bhagavat, right? Mother might think like that. So Krishna, yes, we could say, especially as devotees, Krishna has sent this soul to me under my care. And so I should take wonderful care of this child as a service to Krishna. It's not that we should think, well, Krishna's over there, my child's over there, and sometimes we might even neglect our children because we want to do Krishna's service, but we should see them as connected. That verse that I quoted, it says, Krishna Sambande, right? That we try to see the Sambandha, or the connection with Krishna in everything we do. Right? So Krishna has sent this soul to us. And that's why, not to get into too many details here, but that's why Srila Prabhupada also, and the scriptures recommend this Garbhodang Samskara, a samskara that one does before conceiving a child because we want to call a pious, good soul into the world, like that. And because the tables will turn one day, and the child becomes our association. We're giving ours, right? I've always told my son, like ever since he was like 5 years old, there's going to be a day when you're going to take care of your mother. And I say, and I tell him right now the same thing. Me, whatever, I'll figure it out. But you have to take care of your mother. And he's, it really is very deeply inculcated in his mind, actually, because he's just getting married soon, and he's already thinking that he eventually wants to have a house that can accommodate her, and he's already told his fiance that's one of his top priorities. So there's things that we can inculcate. Just like my wife was the principal of an all-boys school, boarding school, and her main thing to children from 5 up until when they were 18 is that you should always respect women. Right? Don't try to exploit them. Your role is to respect them. And she gets letters all the time because she had it was in Vrindavan, the school, but the kids were from all over the world. And Mataji, I still remember when you said respect women. And I've really tried to do that. I just got married, things like that. So it's something also that when we're bringing up our children, we don't need to teach them 10,000 things, but if we can inculcate on them certain real important principles, they'll be ever grateful for that. TK? Yes. Any men have any questions? Or are you leaving it all to Mother's Day today? So some lady Mataji had a question? Yes. Oh, you already answered. Was someone else had a question, comment? Well, it looks like I'm getting the hook anyway. My wife does the same thing. Okay, it's time. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. First of all, I just wanted to express my heartfelt gratitude to His Grace Vraja Vihari Prabhu. I was reading something recently, and it has become like now expressing the feelings of gratitude. It has gone into the general world also. Like we have been talking about this all the time, but I was reading something where it was said that usually when we think about gratitude, it is something which you use your brain and I should feel gratitude. But gratitude coming from the heart, it is so different from that you're thinking in your brain. And so there's a whole lot of things about that. And it has been an amazing past 2.5 days here. Vraja Vihari Prabhu was so kind enough to come as soon as we asked him to come. In spite of his very busy schedule, his son is going to get married in July, and I'm sure so many other things going on. But when we approached him, Prabhu was so kind enough to come and give his valuable time. He was here from Friday till today. And I'm deeply indebted to you, Prabhu, and from the bottom of my heart, I am so happy and I'm so grateful to your presence and what you have given to this community. And I'm sure those who participated in the seminar also feel the same thing. And we hope you will always keep us in your heart. And please come and share, the teachers, whatever it is that you have been doing. I'm sure it has a very deep impact. Next time when Prabhu comes, those of you who didn't make use of it this time, please make sure somehow you please come and attend. Thank you again. And happy Mother's Day one more time. Again, I was remembering something I read about the saints of Vrindavan. And there was this incident about this one great saintly person who had Krishna's pastime was so visible. There were many saints who lived even in the recent past, and these are real life stories, and this person could clearly see Krishna's pastimes in front of his eyes, and he had left home when he was very young, and his mother was constantly thinking about this sage, and then she came in her old age to visit him, and he was so absorbed in his meditation that he noticed her. He hardly ever ate anything. He was mostly in his cave doing the meditation, and he was walking out of there. He noticed her, but he didn't pay any attention, and he kept going, doing his little madhugari, and went back again doing the meditation, and Krishna just disappeared from his meditation. It was happening day after day. The mother was sitting outside the cave and waiting for him to come and pay any attention. He was not doing anything at all. And then he met one of his guides in Vrindavan, and he said, you have been neglecting your mother, and this is why Krishna completely vanished from your heart. And so he immediately went and offered his obeisances to his mom. And because he was a saintly person living in a cave, she cannot live there. So he took her to, what is the name of that place at the end of Govardhan Hill, Chota Baba sitting there? Punchari, yeah. That place, he made a little hut for his mom, and she started living there, and every day he will go and offer his obeisances to her, and again Krishna made himself visible to him. So, in devotional life also, without giving respect to one's mother, I don't think we can expect any progress. So, wish you all a wonderful Mother's Day. Today, we have the Sunday feast sponsored by 3 families, Kardama Munidas Prabhu and Madhumalati Mataji. They are seeking Krishna's and devotees' blessings on the occasion of their 50th marriage anniversary. And they moved here from St. Louis, right? Where are they? Are they sitting somewhere here? Kardama Munidas and Mataji, Madhumalati Mataji? No? They're not here. I thought I saw them somewhere. Anyway, so we wanted to wish them all the best. We have Dev Iyer Prabhu seeking blessings for the son Adit. He usually is not here, but he has been systematically, regularly sponsoring Sunday feast. And there is an anonymous person from Iowa, again seeking Krishna's and devotees' blessings. So for the spiritual well-being of all these families, kindly chant after me, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So you can all sponsor Sunday feasts. You can contact Abhay Prabhu here, any special occasion in your life, and this is a great service you can do. I have 3 other announcements. Narsingha Chaturdashi is happening next Sunday. So like last year, we are having the celebration starting from 2 o'clock till 7:30 p.m. So there will be a Narsingha Homa happening here, and you can come and participate. Last year it was amazing, and we had about 40 people, and we need to arrange your seat and other things here, other paraphernalia we have to arrange. So kindly contact our welcome table. Chandana Mataji is sitting there. So, and Sumangala Mataji is standing there also. So you please contact them and inform them if you would like to participate. I would say it is a really fantastic experience, and you feel Krishna reciprocating with you and you participate in this ceremony. So please kindly contact them. The next thing I have to say is about our fundraising event for building our temple here. And this is the first time, as you know, that we are really doing a formal fundraising event. Today, Shyam Prabhu is traveling somewhere to Indiana. He is not here. So I am making the announcement on his behalf. The event is on June 2nd, and His Grace Gauravani Prabhu will be doing fantastic kirtan during the event. Today being Mother's Day, I would humbly request you to make an effort to bring your mothers for this event. All we are asking you to do is, this is the one time you can really contact the people in your circle and encourage them. Either you can sponsor a table or you can simply come and contact one of us. I would say, Amrita Kelly, can you show your hand? Because if anybody would like to come, and we want all of you to come. And we want your friends to come also. Please talk with Amrita Kelly Mataji about this and make this event a great success, because this is our opportunity to build this temple for Sri Sri Radha Shyamasundar, who is waiting to be installed, Radha Madhava waiting to be installed. We cannot postpone this anymore. We are moving forward. So you please move along with us. Thank you. I think the last thing is Mukunda just came back from attending Sachinandan Maharaja's retreat in New Vrindavan. I think he has to make a short announcement about Mridanga class.
Hare Krishna. Before I do that, I'm terrible at appreciating my parents, so I briefly wanted to appreciate my mom, who has not only been a mother for me since my birth, but has been a mother for, I think, our whole Chicagoland congregation since its birth. So and every day, you know, whenever she's involved in a lot of managerial fun times. So whenever she shares those experiences with me, every single time I'm telling her, when are you gonna get out of this? Because she would be most happy just reading and chanting at home, I'm sure, but she continues to disregard that and move forward with her responsibilities. So very grateful for that. I'm sure everyone is. So regarding the Mridanga class, I just know that a lot of people have been coming at me for a long time to start that again. So I just wanted to let everybody know I am going to start again. The reason I've been postponing that is because I've been traveling a lot. I'm actually gone like every weekend in May, and then for half of June I'll also be out of town. So I will come back to everybody, but if you or your friends are interested in having your kids be part of the Mridanga class, please just take note that it will start in mid to late June, and I will come back and make a formal announcement about that. So I apologize for everybody that has been asking me about that. So I'll let you know when I have those dates finalized. Thank you. And prasadam is being served downstairs. Hare Krishna.